what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and concur with the Senate amendment to H.R. 1383 as amended.
The clerk will report the bill.
H.R. 1383, an act to temporarily preserve higher rates for tuition and fees for programs of education at non-public institutions of higher learning pursued by individuals enrolled in the post-9/11 Educational Assistance Program of the Department of Veterans Affairs before the enactment of the Post-9/11 Veterans Educational Assistance Improvements Act of 2010 and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Miller, and the gentleman from California, Mr. Filner, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
I rise today in support of the Senate amendment to H.R. 1383 as amended, the Restoring GI Bill Fairness Act of 2011. The bill will temporarily restore the post-9/11 GI Bill program's original method of paying tuition and fees to veterans attending private schools in several states. When the original post-9/11 bill was enacted, veterans were promised that VA would pay up to 100% of tuition and fees up to a state's most expensive in-state undergraduate tuition and fee charges at a public institution of higher learning. The state-based cap applied to veterans who chose both public and private schools. What this meant was that some veterans attending schools in certain states, that their tuition and fee payments could be well in excess of $20,000 annually. Veterans applied and enrolled in these schools based on the original promise. However, in an effort to fix some elements of the original GI Bill, Congress left those veterans in a bind. The post-9/11 Veterans Educational Assistance Improvement Act, which was enacted in January of 2011, made several changes. And one of those changes included a national cap of $17,500 on tuition and fee payments for veterans attending private schools, a change that will go into effect 1 week from today. For veterans that were enrolled in certain private schools in several states, including New York, Texas, Arizona, Michigan, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina, this change has real consequences. They will see their tuition and fee payments reduced by thousands of dollars. And, Mr. Speaker, I just don't think that's fair. We shouldn't change the rules on these veterans when they had already decided to attend the school of their choice and make financial decisions based on those rules. On May 23rd, the House unanimously voted to keep the original promise made to these veterans in H.R. 1383. The Senate has now acted on that bill, and we're ready to finish the job and send the bill to the President before these cuts can take place. Similar to the original House measure, the Senate amendment would temporarily restore the cap on tuition fees to the state-based method effective on August 1st, 2011. This increase would apply only to veterans who were enrolled in non-public institutions of higher learning that I mentioned previously before the 4th of January of 2011. In other words, they had to have already been enrolled on the 4th of January of this year, a change from the House-passed version, which was actually April 1st of 2011. Veterans who initially enrolled after January 4th of 2011 would be subject to the new cap. Mr. Speaker, it has come to our attention that some veterans are concerned about the January 4th eligibility date. We have talked with VA. They have assured us that any veteran who has applied and was accepted to a school on or before the 4th of January of 2011 will be covered under this particular bill that we are considering on the floor today. And veterans who applied or were accepted after that fact will be grandfathered under H.R. 1383. I believe VA's interpretation of the bill accurately reflects the House intent. So I would note that this bill was, as amended, passed the Senate unanimously, and of course it passed this body unanimously as well. At this time, I'd reserve the balance of my time and would encourage a positive vote by all my colleagues.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman. recognized.
Mr. Speaker, we have no further speakers at this time. I would ask unanimous consent that all members would have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks on the Senate amendment to H.R. 1383 as amended. And once again, I encourage all members to support my motion to concur with the Senate amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back, so ordered. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and concur with the Senate amendments to H.R. 1383? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the Chair, 2/3 being the affirmative,
Mr. Speaker,
gentleman from Florida is recognized.
I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by yeas and nays will rise and remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20. Further proceedings on this question will be postponed.